Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Just getting started here on this Tuesday afternoon. Just kind of feeling a little bit chilled out right now. The weather's absolutely stunningly beautiful here in Southern California. I don't know where you might be based, but I'm just outside of San Diego, just North County, San Diego, and it's absolutely beautiful weather, nice and warm, sunny. Um, yeah, it makes for a lot of my late wife used to say, "Sunshine makes up for a lot of sins," and I tend to agree with that. It's a beautiful day, so I just wanted to kind of explore this whole idea today about um, how what we do and what we say to ourselves in these stories that we tell ourselves is kind of um, well, we are not our thoughts, right? I've said that numerous times, and I just want to talk a little bit about my own journey, um, and how that journey has kind of taken me from this really negative, low self-esteem, negative self-talk to a much brighter, more positive person. And I'm not talking about this false positivity, this false kind of um, where everything's rosy, everything's going to turn out great, it's always working out for me kind of positivity. Um, you know, but what I've done is I've actually explored, how to change that negative self-talk within my own head by creating affirmations and by developing a strategy that truly worked for me in some ways, and I'm interested in both sharing that, but also learning from others how you may have experienced or experienced that, because I think we all at some stage or another experience some sort of negativity. Our own inner self critic goes haywire, and we tell ourselves we can't do something, or we're not capable, or we can't have something because it's just not, it's not us, it's not our thing, or whatever. And we take this negative self-talk and we internalize it and we believe it, right? Because we start telling ourselves what it is that we believe about ourselves, right? And I think that from my perspective, um, I used to believe all of the negative things that I was told growing up, and that I believed about myself growing up, and thought about myself growing up. Right? I was always the fat kid. I was always the one who had no friends, the loner, the loser. That those were the words that I used to use about myself. Right? So you can imagine what I thought other people thought about me. Those were the things that I told myself in my own head. So, when you have that sort of negativity and that low self-esteem and that low self-worth, that almost non-existent worth, it's really hard to think of ways or give yourself the love that you truly need, to to say to yourself, hey, you know what? I belong here. I am a good person. I am a loving person. I'm a kind person. I'm a caring person, right? So what I did was, and this was not too long ago. It was probably December. I recorded 3 times uh, a, a dialogue to myself or for myself, right? This is what I want to hear inside my head, not the negative, the dwelling on the old and the past and the negativity that I've had in my life, but all of the positive things that I am, right? That I am personally, that what I am and who I am. I I chose to take those words and record them, and I actually recorded them 3 different times using different sets of inflection and emphasis on the words each different time. So I wrote it out first, right? So I sat there and I said to myself, okay, uh, I'm a loving, caring, kind, trusting, honest, open person, right? Um, I believe in myself. I believe in who I am. I believe that people like me. I believe that people love me. I love myself, right? So I recorded those things, those statements, and then I did it again. And then I did it a third time, each time choosing a different type of emphasis, right? And those affirmations to me, right, I then played them not on a loop incessantly, but, you know, daily I would play them 2 or 3 times. Sometimes I'd play them more. Um, but I would play them 2 or 3 times, particularly when I was in the car. I'd put them on and do it on a loop in the car, because it was only like 7 minutes, right? 7 minutes of listening to it. So if I had a 20-minute drive, I could listen to it 3 times, right? Um, so I would choose to do that. And by doing so, I really did change my negative self-talk. It really did work. Over a nearly 4 week period of time, I just listened to that daily. Um, and the thing is I keep saying to everybody that it's okay to feel the way you feel, no matter who you are or where you are in your life, right? And that's absolutely true. I caveat that by saying, try to break free. Try to think differently by changing any negative self-talk that you believe that you have underlying those feelings and emotions, and try to turn them into more of a positive sort of thing. So instead of saying, I don't trust anyone, right? Which a lot of us feel sometimes when we're hurt. I don't trust anyone. Why don't you change that to, I can choose who I trust, right? Rather than saying I don't trust anyone, I can choose who I trust. And there's just a subtle difference there in the way that it's phrased, but it's a positive rather than a negative. I trust no one versus I can choose who I trust. I can choose who is in my tribe. I can choose to succeed. I can choose to be okay, right? So you can do all of those things, right, without saying to yourself, oh, I'm not going to be okay. This sucks. I hate this life. I hate the person that I am. I'm not worth anything. And I mean, that's a bit dramatic. I don't think many of us do that. But, maybe we do. Maybe we do that sort of thing. I know I have in the past. I really did not like myself. I did not like the person I was. I did not like the person I became. It was definitely not the best version of myself, right? And as a coach, that's what I try to do, is try to bring out of the people that I coach with, I try to bring out how to be and become the best version of each person, right, of themselves. And so if you ever struggle with these sorts of things, these sorts of thought processes, these this sort of sense that you don't belong or that you're not worthy, right? There is 3 words that literally changed my thinking about all of my own self, my worth, my value, etc. And those 3 words that were told to me in the third person, you are, became I am, right? And I am enough, okay? I am enough as I am and who I am and what I am, right? I am enough. And that was a really monumental shift in my thinking, because as somebody who had low self-esteem and low self-worth, I didn't think that I was worthy of anything. I didn't think I was enough. I didn't believe that I was enough. And having somebody tell me those words, having somebody say to me, Jeffrey, you are enough as you are, right? um, those words really shifted how I felt. And that's what really got me thinking and talking to myself differently, right? Okay, well, if I am enough, then I can get what I want. I can succeed. I can make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. I can trust myself. I can do whatever it is that I want to do, right? I can do this. I am successful. I am a good person. I am a loving person. I'm a kind person. I'm a caring person. I am vulnerable. I am open. I am honest, right? So all of these things that I am, right, were things that I never before believed deeply about myself until I started to tell myself all of these things on a regular basis. And I still do. I still sit and tell myself that I am not just enough, but I am all of these things. I belong here. I can feel these feelings that I have and be okay with them, right? So like last week when I was really struggling with my grief and couldn't really, understand what triggered it, but needed to feel it, I need, to know that I can feel those feelings and still be safe, right? And I can talk about them and still be safe. I can tell myself that it is okay to feel what it is that I'm feeling and be safe, right? That's vulnerability. That is that ability to show that you are vulnerable and express yourself the way that that you need to in your own head, really, more than anywhere else. Um, there are all sorts of positive affirmations that you can use, and I'm just kind of wondering, what do you tell yourselves? I mean, does anybody want to tell me, what they tell themselves in their head? What stories they tell themselves? I know a few of you have messaged me before when we've been on these calls, on these chats, and I'd really like to hear from you and know what it is that you think in terms of your own needs and your own wants and how you talk to yourself about those things. I started doing meditation 2.5, nearly 3 years ago, and that to me was kind of the start of this, but it never really kind of got me into the affirmations kind of thing. I did mantras and things like that, and kind of half believed, when I was meditating that I was, giving myself some positive energy. But it was only really after that moment when, then when this person told me that I was enough, and that I am enough, that I really started to change my self-talk, my negative self-talk. And, I feel that that's been a catalyst to my growth as a person. It's been a catalyst to me as a coach, in terms of how I ask questions of people. I know that I've asked before, how do you talk with yourself that gives you more self-confidence, more self-worth, more self-value, right? Because that's a key element of self-care. And self-care in this period that we've been going through, it's really difficult from a mental health point of view to maintain positivity, to be strong and resilient in the middle of a pandemic when we're stuck in and unable to be in physical proximity of people that we know and love. It is a real struggle for a lot of us, and I find that trusting my own inner wisdom, trusting my own self, right, my true self, has been paramount in this time, right? I had a group meeting, a group session last night with some friends, and we talked about so many things, and everybody's really busy doing and getting on with, doing things. And I think, those of you who were on yesterday know that 10 minutes before I started my talk, I was sitting outside in the sunshine and I said to myself, why can't I do this every day? And the fact of the matter is that I was doing it in that moment. And it suddenly dawned on me that that moment was really all that mattered. In that very moment, that was all that mattered. And I was able to just completely savor that moment. Being outside in the sunshine, listening to the birds sing and watching the leaves and trees sway in a gentle breeze. And it was in that moment, very moment, with all of that going on, that I was super present and just said, you know what? This is all there is right now, all there is. I've said it before, the past is history, tomorrow a mystery, and that's why they call today the present, because it's a gift, right? This is kind of what I get at when I talk about, not positivity in the false sense of positivity, but in the sense that changing our negative self-talk, right? Stop self-deprecating, stop talking down about yourself, because you've got plenty of friends to do that for you. You may want to try a different tactic in your own thought processes. Do a recording on your phone like I did, and just and write it down first. Just write yourself a little, 8-10 lines maybe, that lasts like 2 or 3 minutes, and record it 3 times, doing different kind of emphasis on the words, so that it sounds a little bit different each time, and play it back to yourself 2 or 3 times a day in the first basically in the first week. Second week maybe once or twice a day, and then the third week just once a day. It takes 21 days to start a new habit. It takes about 45 days to completely be engrossed and built into that habit. So I did that for about 45 days. I did that, listening to that recording every day. In the first week, and almost on a loop. The second week, a little bit less. The third week, a little bit less. And then beyond that, just kind of maybe once a day. And every now and again, I will go back and listen to it, because I want that reminder to tell myself, yeah, I am worthy. I am a good person. I am a caring person. I am a loving person. I am a kind person. I am generous. People like me as I am. People listen to what I have to say, right? Otherwise, nobody would be watching these videos. But the reality is that, being vulnerable to my own self, and accepting that, I had been talking to myself negatively, and that I could turn that around and start being more positive in the way that I talk to myself. I could and did, start to value not just my own self, but my ability to, be a changer, be a change agent in this world, right? I gave myself that agency to change this world, and I am doing that. I feel that each day that I get out and pour my heart out here and talk with you all and share with you all, I'm putting that energy and that positivity out into the world. Despite my own pain and my own, personal experience and issues, I am still willing to give of myself and offer of myself to those out there, who may or may not have had the experiences that I've had, may or may not have had the tragedies that I have, may or may not have the trauma that I've experienced. So all of these things, right? All of these, these talks and this sharing from me is my way of giving you and sharing my love for you as my tribe, as my friends, as my audience as people, as beings on this planet. Um, it's my power, it's my passion, and it's my purpose, right? My power is to give love. My purpose is to give love. My passion is to give love. So these are all things that I do, and I do try to do everything with that intent, right? With that intention. The problem was previously, whether I was trying to do that same thing or not, I wasn't giving my own self that love, right? My true self, the love that it needed and that it deserved. And that's why my self-esteem and my self-worth was in the gutter. So, it's taking this element of, this negativity that I had in my head and switching that off. Just turning it down as much as possible. It's still there a little bit. I still am a bit of a self-critic every now and again, and I lose my way. But I generally tend to think, well, wait a minute, why are you thinking this way, right? Just by observing my thoughts. And again, you are not your thoughts, right? And I am not my thoughts. Just by observing what I'm thinking, yeah, I can just say to myself, okay, you're going down the negative trap again, right? You're going down the negative road again. Let's just turn that around. Instead of saying, what if it doesn't work? Well, what if it does work, right? That's the beauty of just thinking differently, of just changing that negative to the positive, right? So, I can be powerful in my ability to give love, but I can also ask for help at the same time. It doesn't make me any weaker, right? I can offer love and still give myself love without making myself any more vulnerable or any less vulnerable and depleting my own energy. Although last week I felt like that's what was happening, because I wasn't giving myself the love that I needed. I was in a downward spiral because of my grief. But the reality is that, by being as creative and, thoughtful to myself and in my own head, and observing my thoughts, right? So being thoughtful about my own thoughts makes it a lot easier for me to switch from that negative self-talk to a more positive approach. And I find that that's really important. So, I'm going to ask again, if anybody else out there has had this sort of experience. Have you ever done what I've done? Record your own kind of affirmations and listen to it, because remember that the voice inside your head is your own voice, right? Most of the time. Sometimes I'm speaking in Sean Connery's voice, but I'm not very good at it. Occasionally I'm speaking in Christophe Lambert, who's a French actor's voice, who played Highlander. And other times I'm doing Mike Myers' Shrek, okay, for whatever reason. I don't know why. But when I tell myself things in my own voice, and I talk to myself in a positive way, and don't hold that against me, by the way, that I use other people's voices in my head. I just hear it that way. That's just who I am. When I talk to myself about my own self, it's always in my own voice. It's always in that voice that's deep inside of me. It's not this one that I'm hearing now that's talking. It's the voice that I hear inside of me that I've heard since I was a child. It's that deep-rooted self that for a very, very long time had a lot of weight on its shoulders because there was a lot of negativity that it had been told all of its life by me, by others, by society, by the programs and the conditions that I had learned growing up, that I was not enough, that I was not worthy, that I was, incapable, that I was, lazy, and I was not, I was never going to finish anything. And you know what? I told myself, no, that's not who I am. That's not what I am. Okay? I am a positive, caring, loving, kind, considerate, open, honest person. And that is who this true self is. And this true self is capable of anything. It's boundless, it's timeless, it's effortless, okay? It's creative and competent and productive, although I really do kind of hate that word because I'm not a machine. It's joyful, it's happy to be alive. It's it's capable, right? I am all of these things. I am capable. I am joyful. I am alive. I am powerful. I am creative. I am competent. I am all of these things. And the more that we tell ourselves these things, the more we actually believe it, right? The brain and the mind don't know the difference between, what is real, what is, out there, and what is perceived, right? What is maybe not real. So if we perceive ourselves as kind, caring, loving, open, honest, productive, competent, intelligent, all of these things, and we keep telling ourselves that, we believe it. Our brain believes it, right? Studies have shown that people who lift weights in their mind for half an hour, right? So if they're lying there and they're visualizing and they're lifting weights, right? And they're doing these powerful bench presses and they're doing these, super heavy, leg presses and whatnot, right? They actually increase their muscle masses, okay? Without ever actually lifting a weight, because the mind truly believes that the body has been doing it. If you can get your mind to believe what you are saying about yourself and to yourself, then you will. Thanks, brother. I appreciate that, Steve. I know I miss you too. I'm sure you're probably not as clean shaven as you used to be either. But coming back to what I was saying is your mind doesn't know the difference between sort of reality and perception of reality, okay? So if you perceive that you are a wonderful person, a caring person, a kind person, and you believe that, you start to believe that, your mind will believe it, and you will stop talking to yourself negatively. You will start to think more positively about yourself. Your self-esteem will come up, and even when you fall backwards a little bit, right, which we all do, we all slip and fall backwards, we all fall into negative traps and occasionally, feel like we're not worthy, or, we have a setback, we haven't achieved something that we had hoped, we didn't get the job, or, we didn't, win the contract, or whatever it may be. And we feel deflated and we feel let down and we feel like we failed, right? You haven't failed. You've made a mistake and you've learned from it, or you've not won because somebody else was slightly better than you, but you'll win the next one, or you won't even bother. You'll just go do something else, right? There's all sorts of ways of turning negatives into positives in ways that are so much healthier for you than just sort of saying, oh well, it wasn't meant to be, or oh obviously I wasn't good enough, or whatever, right? That's the negative self-talk that we need to look at and say, okay, how do I turn that into a positive? I've learned from my mistakes. I have identified my needs and my wants, and they are important to me. And what I need is this, or what I want is this. And now I know what I want. This is how I'm going to go and get it. This is what I know is right for me, right? I am a powerful person. I am a loving person. I am a kind person. I am a passionate person. All of these things that we can tell ourselves that are positive, right? I am independent, okay? But I'm interdependent on all of you, all of the interaction that we have, all of the back and forth that we have on these talks. That is interdependence. But I'm an independent person. I think for myself. But I think of myself and about myself in a lot more positive way than I ever have before, because I know deep down in my true self that I am enough. Whatever I am, however I am, and whoever I am, as long as I show up for me, right, for myself, then I am enough. And that's the thing that we have to do as humans, is just realize that, you know, in our perfectly imperfect state as we are, when we're born and when we grow up and when we get old and when we die, we are perfectly imperfect throughout our lives. If we accept that, and we accept that we are being and becoming the best version of ourselves in that process, then we are doing our best, and we are, you know, being the most powerful, authentic creatures that we can be. And that's where I am, and that's where I hoped, you know, all of my friends and all of the people who are watching this are coming along for the ride, right? Um, so I'm gonna just kind of wrap this up, because I know I'm coming up on my 30-minute mark, and in fact I think I've gone right through it. So I want to say thank you very much. I really appreciate you all joining me and being here for me and with me on this journey that we're taking over these last 7 weeks. And it's been a long haul for a lot of us, and I think we're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel. But just be safe, please. Be cautious, be careful, be considerate, be kind, be caring. Let's look out for each other. Let's make this world, just a little bit better than it was before we went into this. And I'm hopeful that we will, and I'm hopeful that you'll keep joining me when, tomorrow, Hump Day, 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, for the next of these chats. And I really do appreciate and thank you very much for joining me today, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care, everybody, and have a great rest of your Tuesday.